在当今世界，我们格外重视才智。现代技术可以指导我们如何行事，却没有告诉我们该做什么以及为什么要这么做。所以人们开始求助于古人的智慧。中国传统哲学是最为多样化、最深刻且最令人兴奋的智慧之一。我的名字叫万百安，是瓦萨学院的詹姆斯·门罗泰勒哲学教授。我教授中国哲学以及中国传统文学。
I'm part of the generation that got excited about China after China opened up. To be honest, I also was really excited about the Bruce Lee film Enter the Dragon, and so I wanted to learn more about Chinese culture.
中国的哲学一定要在我们人类里边看出天跟地。
Being weak is stronger than being strong. What does that mean?
It changes fundamentally your understandings of things and open up new possibilities.
More than any other ancient philosophy that I've studied, Chinese philosophy really does well with the practical ends that can help us recognize our nature as humans and be able to maximize what we are.
在快节奏的现代生活中，我们往往无暇驻足去思考一些终极问题。我们经常忽视了追求智慧的重要性。也许只有回望过去，才能更好地触摸未来。请加入我们，一起踏上学习中国智慧的旅程吧。本集我们将聚焦于老子，撰写了《道德经》的传奇人物。2500年来，他在中国乃至全世界都产生了巨大影响。我们在中国的河南省鹿邑县，据说这里是老子的出生地。老子在中国人尽皆知，他是中国哲学的传奇人物。老子是道家思想的创始人，而道家思想也是世界上最深邃的哲学思想之一。他将自己的智慧写进了《道德经》里，这是在圣经和博家梵歌之外，世界历史上被翻译最多的经典著作。
But so many things that we'd like to know about Laozi are either mythical or at least historically suspect. He was known by many names, sometimes called Lao Dan, sometimes called Li Er. Even his name, Laozi, technically just means old master, and it may not be a name at all. The earliest Chinese biography of Laozi says that he was born during the spring and autumn period in ancient China. He was kind of a librarian in the Zhou Dynasty archives. This was put his lifetime over 2,500 years ago.
在司马迁所写的《老子列传》里面呢，提到可以称为老子的人呢有3个，年龄跨度呢长达200年。他说我暂时先写在这儿吧，我自己也不知道。
我们现在呢在鹿邑县一家专门为老子所建的博物馆里，这里有几百件表现老子形象的艺术品，所有艺术品上老子的面孔都不一样。每个人心中都有一个老子，我们无法描述老子究竟是怎样的人。根据记载，老子晚年决定离开洛阳，出函谷关，一路向西。边境的守卫要求他在离开之前写下点什么，于是他就写出了《道德经》。这本高深的著作只有5000多字， 其中没有提及任何人物姓名，也没有提及任何的历史事件。我们无从得知这本书是如何诞生的，但是它却吸引且深刻影响了古今中外的许多思想家。
2000多年没有挖出老子的书，但是突然在1972年，长沙的马王堆出土了大批的帛书，有老子的作品，大概汉代初年的。后来他有北大汉简，但是更惊人的是1973年在湖北的荆州郭店村挖出了3个老子的注简，是战国时代的抄本。
2000多年来，《道德经》的文本基本上是一致的，但在荆门出土的郭店楚简却引发了许多疑问。这是现存最早的一本《道德经》，可以追溯到公元前4世纪。它比当今流行的版本要短得多，书中的章节也要少一些。
郭店楚简来只有经本老子，就是王弼本老子的1/3。虽然个别的字词不太一样，但是并没有完全超出经本以外的新的内容。很有可能当时老子的主体已经完成了，在战国的早中期呢已经开始流行了。
这让我想到了荷马史诗，后人曾经普遍认为是一位双目失明的吟游诗人口述了这本巨著。现在我们更倾向于认为一群人共同完成了这部史诗，可这并不能改变这部作品在文学史上的伟大地位。《道德经》也是如此。
On this fragile piece of ancient bamboo, we have a record of the invention of the concept of Dao being used to describe a cosmological concept. The earliest meaning of Dao is a path, like the path you take through a forest. We can find versions of it in the oracle bone inscriptions where it appears to be a picture of a crossroads. But then it comes to refer to the way to do something, especially the right way to live and the right way to organize society. And this is the way that most early Chinese philosophers used the concept. But what's distinctive about Daoism is arguing that the term can also be used to refer to an entity that existed before heaven and earth and is responsible for the way things are and the way they should be in ideal circumstances. There is a thing, shapeless yet complete, born before heaven and earth. How alone, how silent, independent and unchanging, it can be considered the mother of heaven and earth. I know not its name, but I nickname it the Way.
老子之前有《易经》、《尚书》、《诗经》，这些典籍并没有直接说我们现在所说的哲学问题，我们从哪里来，往何处去？万物的根源是什么？老子开始，中国的哲学才有哲学上所谓的形上学 （metaphysics）。
人们经常会以为只有闲着没事干的人才会研究哲学。事实上，无论在欧洲还是亚洲，哲学往往发展于社会动荡的时期，苦难中的人们需要得到精神解脱。春秋战国时期便是如此。在长达500年的时间里，中国群雄割据，虽然有一个统治者周天子，却是有名无权，实权掌握在诸侯手中。各国混战不休，争名夺利，只是为了生存下来。
在老子之前的2000年的历史里面，没有出现过这么强烈的这个巨变。在孔子的思想里面有非常充分的表达，就是礼坏乐崩。
Here we have a copy of the Beijing version of the Laozi, which is the oldest surviving complete version of our text. In this passage, Laozi describes the political situation in the era in which he lives, which drove people like him to first philosophize. The court is resplendent, yet the fields are overgrown. The granaries are empty, yet some wear fancy clothes and carry sharp swords. They're stuffed with food and possess wealth in abundance. This is called thievery. This is not the way.
伟大思想的产生啊，一般都跟时代巨变有关，需要哲学家用思考来解决这个时代的问题。另外一方面呢，中国固有文明啊，到了春秋末年，已经有非常丰厚的这个文明的积淀，已经在酝酿一种哲学上的突破。
老子和孔子是当时最有名的2位哲学家，但哲学家不止他们2位。这一时期被称作百家争鸣，就是因为出现了众多伟大思想。中国的历史学家司马迁将主要的几种思想归为6家，除了道家和儒家，还有墨家、法家、阴阳家以及名家。每一家对于人生道路、生活方式以及治国之道都有自己独到的观点。
We're here in what is perhaps the largest collection in China of stone inscriptions showing a legendary meeting between Confucius and Laozi. There are different versions of this story, but in all of them, Laozi is the older, more established philosopher, and Confucius is coming to him to ask for his insight and wisdom.
时代发生变化了，旧的传统当中那些美好的东西要不要保存？孔子的态度说：“我要保存。”从过往的传统当中，然后生长出新的可能。老子的路径正相反，老子是要破这个理的。
孔子比较讲道德，就是人伦关系，但是老子的道德有多层次的，人间这个层次的道德是跟孔子是一样的。但是到了宇宙的层次，道是万物的根源，但是这个道呢，又会内在于每一个人、每一个物。道的特性进入到我们内在的生命里面，所以得到道叫做德。
德者，德也，得其真性。每个人来到这个世间，他有他自己的潜能。如果你把你的这个潜能实现出来，道家认为你就有德了。而道呢，它是一个柔弱的方式，让万物成为他自己。我生出你，但是我不主宰你。生而不有，为而不恃，长而不宰。
道对万物的不控制，使得万物生机勃勃。万物呢可以有自己的主体性，而不被一个外在的力量束缚。这是老子追求的最高理想。我从来不认为老子是一个远离社会的隐士。《道德经》就可以说是对于历史的总结，以及对天道的一种体悟。
We're here at the Tiantan, the Temple of Heaven. Nowadays, this is one of the biggest tourist attractions in Beijing. But traditionally, the emperors of the Ming and Qing dynasties would come here to perform ceremonies to thank and to honor Tian or heaven.
说文解字里说这个字从一大，一和大都是指称那个终极实体的。我常常举个例子，美国人吓一跳 ，Oh my God， 中国人吓一跳，我的天哪！
我的天，right。
但是你又不能把它翻译成 God， 因为它有非常强的非人格性，这是中国文明的那个固有特点。
Chinese thought of heaven as a higher power that was on the side of virtue and morality and would reward it in the long run. In fact, the emperors of the Ming and the Qing believed that they had a mandate to rule, which had been given to their ancestors for their virtue, and which they could maintain as long as they stayed on heaven's good side.
但是我们如果去看老子，天变成了万物之一，老子超越了天人关系，打造出另外一种哲学的体系，就是道物关系。这是老子伟大的地方。
Think of the Tao as absolutely everything in its purely non-differentiated state. We see a world around us of differentiated things. There's me, there's you, there's a table, etc. The degree to which we see the world this way is the degree to which we are removing ourselves from the Tao. The more we are able to sense the interrelations of everything around me, the more I can live effectively in the world, the closer we're getting to the Tao. Often when we use the term virtue, we mean it in a very strong ethical sense. For the Laozi, what it really means is relating well to everything around you, so it doesn't mean you're acting morally, it means you're acting in accordance with the Tao.
老子对天与地以及道与德进行了重新解读，广受后世许多中国人的欢迎。这个概念也吸引了许多现代人，吸引了语言不同、时代不同、文化不同以及信仰不同的人。
If we are seeing the Tao, we are realizing everything is interrelated. When you think of the values that the Laozi is trying to undercut, it is chilling to note how totally predominant those values are. We live in a world where so much of the focus is about the individual constantly trying to impose on the world a set of understandings of what is good, what is bad, differentiating the world to sets of judgments. What I fear we are failing to do often is ask the big questions. Are we making the right assumptions, or should we rethink some of them? The key figures found Chinese philosophy very, very powerful are those who are trying to rethink a lot of the assumptions.
Our journey to understand Laozi has brought us here to Copenhagen, the home of Niels Bohr, one of the greatest physicists of the 20th century and one of the founders of quantum mechanics, a theory that is remarkably successful but very difficult to interpret.
我们对于波尔真正感兴趣的地方在于，他也非常推崇中国思想，认为老子能够帮助我们理解量子力学。尼尔斯·波尔与他的同事沃纳·海森堡创立了哥本哈根学派。根据他们的阐述，组成物质世界的最基本的粒子并没有确定的位置或运动。几百年间，牛顿的经典力学认为我们是能够精确地确定物体的状态与行为的。然而，量子力学揭示出亚微观世界似乎充满了不确定性。这一研究范式的惊人转变，在物理学界引发了轩然大波。波尔与爱因斯坦就有一场持续很久、激烈又友好的争论。爱因斯坦有一句名言：“上帝不会掷骰子。”他这句话的意思是，宇宙的结构必须遵循定律，并且能够得出确切的结果。波尔则认为，量子力学揭示了宇宙的本质特征，就是不确定性与可能性。只有通过老子思想衍生出来的灵活逻辑，才能理解全新的量子理论。对波尔来说，阴阳无法一分为二的概念相当重要。知其白，守其黑，为天下事。为天下事，常德不特，复归于无极。 老子意识到，世界上有些事物是相互依赖又相互冲突的，只有通过事物之间的矛盾，我们才能获得创造力，并且不断的进化。在亚里士多德的古典西方传统与逻辑中，他们声称现实不存在矛盾。如果你遇到了矛盾，那是因为你的思想有谬误。牛顿经典力学认为，宇宙遵循着固有的规律，但量子力学理论打破了这种说法，还让人们对亚里士多德哲学产生了疑问，某种程度上颠覆了1000年以来西方哲学的基础。
When Niels Bohr was knighted by the Danish government for his contributions to physics, he got to design his own coat of arms. And he put the Taiji on his coat of arms, which shows the influence of Laozi's ideas on Bohr's thoughts.
At one level, I would say the Laozi is not trying to teach us about the actual workings of the world in a strong sense. However, it does challenge our assumptions. One of the dominant modes now in natural science was extreme reductionism. So we're now learning with nutrition. You can do tiny studies of every single food we eat and all the nutrients in those foods and what they do to this part of our body. And we are now beginning to realize, actually, if you are thinking in more holistic ways, it changes fundamentally your understandings of things. This, of course, is something that's been part of Chinese medicine for millennia. Intentionally not see how things interrelate with everything else just leads to a complacency.
西方现代科学理论家之一弗朗西斯·培根曾经说过，科学就是强迫自然顺应人类的意愿。但是道家提出了不一样的观点，也就是科学技术可以与自然相辅相成。让我们来看看道家思想在现实中的实践吧。尽管他的设计师可能并不知道，他无意中运用了道家思想。
你好，万教授，欢迎到我们100兆瓦光热电站。
这种光热电站是中国绿色倡议的一部分，旨在早日帮助中国达到碳中和，从而帮助世界缓解全球变暖的难题。
这就是我们那个疾控室，所有的操作和指挥都在这儿完成。几千年前，中国人就已经知道通过太阳来取火了。实际我们现在利用的也是这个原理，也就是我把白天的热量收集回来，在发电的同时做储备，到了晚上把这个储备好的热量再进行发电。所以呢，这是一个带储能的新能源的一个发电合力。这个镜子我们叫定日镜，是要跟踪着太阳在旋转的。它要把光全部打到我们那个260米高的那个吸热器上面去，这个大屏上，它就能看到每一个点上的温度，说根据这个点的温度，他们来进行控制。
I feel like I'm in a science fiction film, and I'm an explorer who's visiting a civilization with advanced technology. The layout of the plant reminds me of a line from the Tao Te Ching. 30 spokes share one hub, but it is depending on the nothing in the middle of the wheel that we have the usefulness of the vehicle. The concept of nothing in the Tao Te Ching is easy to misunderstand. It doesn't refer to complete non-being or the total deprivation of qualities. Nothing for Laozi refers to things that are intangible, things that are not concrete, things that we often overlook, but are nonetheless essential to creativity and to productivity.
所有的能源来自于太阳，对大气当中不是产生热量，是把热量收集走了，所以是一个真正的纯绿色新兴的这么一个产业。我们国家在联合国环保会议上承诺过，2030年实现碳达峰，2060年实现碳中和。为了这2个目标呢，这几年就开始加大新能源方面的建设。
人类社会不断地在踩油门，而道家给我们的智慧就说要踩刹车。
道家呢，对于人类为了满足人的欲望而不断地开发的技术是保持警惕的，它最后会导致的是对人欲望的无限制的刺激。 人是有限的，地球也是有限的。这样一个有限的存在，生活在一个无限的时空当中啊，不能为所欲为。但是他并没有说要让所有的人都住到山林里面去做隐士，因为老子在最后一章里面他就提到了，就是利而不害，为而不争。也就是我们这个社会呢，既要相处，但是呢要和谐相处。但如何才能够相处到最圆满的境界，是他一直在寻找的。这种寻找对于我们今天来说还是有意义的。
I certainly remember the first time I read the Laozi back in high school, where I assumed the Laozi is all about not having a state and where the sage would not be doing anything in a literal sense. And then I was struck by all of these phrases, things like there are laws, but no one knows what they are. Well, why would there be laws? Why would you not tell them what they are? Then later I realized that do nothing doesn't literally mean you do nothing. What it means is you are seemingly doing nothing, but in fact you are doing an incredible amount, but never in a way that seems overtly forcing anyone into anything. There's one beautiful line in Laozi that will say, after the sage, through seemingly doing nothing, the people would simply say, oh, we have always been like this naturally.
One of the most intriguing but also shocking things that you say in your book, The Path, is that we can think of Lincoln as perfect Laozian sages. Could you expand on that?
So Lincoln becomes the president. He is president of obviously a very, very divided nation where both the North and the South correctly see themselves as coming out of something called the U.S. Constitution. The key things that appear in the Constitution are things like slavery, because slavery was actively practiced by half of the state. And essentially the power of what Lincoln did is he looked back and he reemerges it by saying, no, the founding document of America isn't the U.S. Constitution. The founding document is the Declaration of Independence, which opens by saying, all men are created equal. And when that was written, Thomas Jefferson really meant that as being, we colonial subjects of the English crown, we should be treated equally, so we should not have to be taxed without having proper representation in Parliament. But Lincoln rereads those words to saying all humans are created equal, black and white, across the races, and slavery means we are failing to live up to our own vision of why we even exist as a nation. After Lincoln, that becomes the vision for America. He simply spoke it in a way that brought about that world into existence. That is a Laozian sage. He becomes the Tao that gives birth to worlds. We mistakenly and foolishly, according to Laozi, think that strength lies strength. The most powerful person will simply try to dominate situations. Laozi will argue it fundamentally changes our understandings of power. Think of strength as like that powerful rock, and think of weakness as like water. Water can simply shift with the circumstances, a rock cannot. A powerful leader who's overtly powerful is inevitably creating the seeds of his own destruction. If you're ruled by weakness, you're using their attempt to overpower you to undermine them. You're using weakness to destroy their strength.
Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Take that right leg up and go straight back into the target like this. Here. Good. Good. One more. Good.
我们来这里是要和我的朋友亚历克西斯·麦克劳德会面。他是印第安纳大学的教授，中国哲学以及中美洲哲学的专家。 他即将出版一部有关武术与亚洲哲学之间关系的书。
Here, and you're already high, and then all you have to do is extend that hip around.
I got interested in the martial arts as part of the kung fu craze in the 70s because of Bruce Lee's film.
I actually have a similar story, so I also got interested in martial arts through film. Enter the Dragon was a big one for me. There's this great scene. There's a guy on the boat who's challenging Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee says, okay, I'm going to show you my style.
What's your style? My style? You can call it the art of fighting without fighting.
The guy says, okay, show me some of this style. And so Bruce Lee says, let's get on this boat and go over to that island over there. And once he gets in the boat, Bruce Lee unties it and allows it to go out into the sea.
Hey, what the hell are you doing? Hey, are you crazy?
And the guy is out there, you're not free. He's Bruce Lee, right? He could have engaged with the guy and probably beaten him up easily. He knows this guy wants to fight so badly, he's going to rush into doing foolish things. And so he lets him out here and ends up overcoming him. He's used Wu Wei. One of the things that really takes students often to the next level is moving from the first stage of constantly fight like this to now using relaxation, using yielding, using empty space. Coming in and then bang. So here, same thing as that. Yes, exactly.
What might you do if somebody threw like a right cross at you?
Yeah, of course. So if you're punching and I can get out of the way, here, then I'm controlling, I can hear, right? Something like this, right? When someone aggresses, allow that to happen and simply move with it and then wait for that opening that they present with that aggression, and then you make your move. This actually is very connected to Daoism, be like water, right? Moving to where it needs to go. You can going down here and then over like this. You can turn in. Things are continually changing. If we kind of say, this is the Tao, right, and I'm going to make it concrete, then things have already moved beyond us, right? And so it's not the constant Tao. And this is very much behind kind of Bruce Lee's idea. So, every time we open up a class in Taekwondo, we start with particular set kick. After you do this over and over and over again for enough time, the next level is to then be able to do that in a non-forced way. There's this move called the kip up. You're on the ground and you got to push yourself up and jump up instead of standing. And I was practicing this, for over a year. I had the strength, I had the speed, I had everything I needed for this, but I just wasn't quite there. I would get it and then I would kind of fall. Right? My first teacher at the time recognized what was going on. And he said, okay, what I want you to try to do now is to do that same move, but this time, don't think about it. Take the idea of the move out of your head. In the first time, it happened. Right? And I said, what was that? Like, what was going on? And I think part of what was going on there is this is Wu Wei. Trusting my technique in a certain way, using that muscle memory and responding in this kind of natural way, was to move away from a forced kind of thinking about things into a non-forced thinking about things and non-active. And when they get there, everything just gets better. Nice. One of the ways I teach the Tao Te Ching in my classes is as a kind of ancient self-help text. Whatever goal we have, there's a kind of best way to achieve this, right? Which involves things like Wu Wei, recognizing the value of yin, etc. Right? Getting wisdom is a matter of taking that knowledge and make it your own. Nice. It's something we have to read and apply and understand through our own lives and through our own understandings, which really complete Cheng, right? It completes the Tao Te Ching.
Would you come in, please? Welcome.
Oh, this is lovely.
To our big castle. My first guitars ever.
They enlighten you.
Yes.
Metaphorically and.
This is the Laozi guitar I made.
对道的探索指引我们来到了德国汉堡，与雷蒙德·伯克见面。
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Great. Here's my big recording studio.
This is so cool.
雷蒙德是一位吉他手和作曲家，他出了一部重金属专辑，其中将《道德经》作为他的歌词。
Spirit of Lao Dan is my latest project. It took me about 2.5 years to finish. It combines my natural musical direction with my interest in Tai Chi and Tao Te Ching. This one, the erhu, I played myself. I saw a Chinese guy playing the erhu, and I thought, I have those jackets, I make it myself. This is my erhu.
How did you first get interested in Chinese thought or Laozi in particular?
In '93, I wanted to start my rock and roll guitar player hero career. And then I got my injury with the nerve. I woke up, I had massive pain in my fingers. I had no feeling. And I had to live with it for about 4 or 5 months till I had the surgery. It took me 10 years to being able again to play guitar, almost I did before. It wasn't only that the nerve was broken down. Every 11 seconds, it throws my arm away. It was so bad.
You get a sudden surge of pain.
Yes. So I sit in my apartment and my room and thought, what can I do now? I'm a musician.
Welcome everybody. We start with the first move, Jinggang Dao Dui, which means Buddha's warrior and tense mortar. Do your inner connections.
Since 1999, I guess. I am studying a little bit of Taijiquan.
And what made you decide to practice Taijiquan?
I can't really explain that, but when I saw Taijiquan, that's the one for me. When the depression is coming up, through the Tai Chi, I can adjust them. Then I came in contact with the sayings from Laozi during the classes from my Master Jan Silberstorff.
好，接着下来的这一位表演者呢，是今天晚上唯一的非亚洲表演者，来自德国的史阳先生。
史阳1982年就来到中国学习中文，学习中国的传统武术，并在之后的学习里认识了中国陈家沟陈氏太极拳19世掌门人陈小旺。现在呢，在德国推广陈家沟陈氏太极。
Actually, when I was young, I was pretty much into punk rock. As a pretty wild teenager, actually, we had a lot of street violence. So my first idea was just to learn a martial art to defend myself. Then I ended up in the wrong class. A friend of mine from school brought me to a Tai Chi master. And I thought, how can this help me to fight some whatever kind of aggressive people on the street? I didn't understand. But then the first lesson, I had some very nice, beautiful feeling of what they call energy flow or something. And after that, I met with some punks on a rooftop. We were drinking some beer and I was watching over the city and I was still sitting there having this feeling. I said, you know what, to my friends, I thought, if this continues, this feeling, maybe I stop drinking. Everybody was silent and watching me. I said, oh, that's good, then you can drive the car. You know? But in the very first lesson, I realized, wow, that's my life. I stopped all the drinking and smoking. I stopped to be punk. Most of my friends from that time later, they died on drugs and alcohol or street violence. So it changed my life completely 180 degrees and actually saved my life. Laozi writes in his Tao Te Ching, human beings because of earth. Earth is because of heaven. Heaven is because of Tao. Tao is because of itself. So what belongs to earth from us as human beings, we let sink to the earth. That we have a stable stance. Yeah, you push strong, okay? But I can push him easy. Because the heaviness goes to the ground. We stay stable, we get self-confident. But at the same time, by sinking down, the spirit becomes empty. And it opens up to heaven, to sky. So we get the spiritual connection to what Laozi is writing about Tao. This is why we practice Tai Chi, to bring the mental and the physical aspect into balance. Relax your shoulders. Yeah, that was already 2 centimeters. You feel his palm is falling down. So in Tai Chi practice, it's always the same form. But when the balance becomes deeper and deeper, feel connected to everything around you. It's not you doing the thing, but it goes through you. The more you come close to what is called emptiness, the more you come close to the realization of Tao. What I try in my practice is to reverse Tao Te Ching 42. The Tao gives birth to the 1, to the 2, to the 3, to the 10,000. Yeah, I start from the 10,000 back to the 3, back to the 2, back to the 1, back into the Tao. You're connected to the Tao. You should act through but this, you don't need to hide from all this. You can take it as a field of application and experience. Again. I realized for myself that the Tai Chi form can be a beautiful bridge to transport the deep mental experiences into normal life actions. It's a great tool to make everything one word.
This is my new place for the rehearsal room.
Raimund called me one day and said, okay, I want to do it with heavy metal. I thought it was a great idea. I mean, of my past anyway, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm very sure nobody did this before for the Tao Te Ching.
Please come in.
Oh my gosh. Wow, this is so cool.
People always think that a wise one is someone sitting silently at home playing a piano. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
And this is a good chance to say, no, it's not like this. The inspiration to realize Tao can be found everywhere. Can be a smart kid, can be a wise teacher, but also can be heavy metal, can be whatever. If you realize the silence and the nothingness within the loudness, speaking about the heavy metal, then you really got it, man.
Yeah, that's great. Woo! Nice.
So this is our collection.
Wow.
Everything we have here are different translations of the Tao Te Ching.
How many translations of the Tao Te Ching are there?
Based on the current count, 2,052 in 97 languages. So last year I published this book. Almost 300 pages is just a list of the translations. I wanted to give you a copy. You can read how I assigned it. I think it's
to my best teacher, Bryan from Misha.
I should have added my best teacher after Laozi. But
我们来到中国天津的南开大学，与台密霞教授见面。我很自豪地说，台教授是我以前的学生，他在南开大学建立了全球老学研究中心。
One of the things I've done in the last, we could say, 5 years is to find all the different kinds of translations in all the languages around the world. So the idea of global Laozigetics is to look at the entire phenomenon of the text in the world throughout history. This is a Latin translation, no later than 1729. It's really the earliest encounter between Western philosophy and Daoism.
Was this a Jesuit translation?
Yes. The Tao Te Ching has been translated more than any other work except for the Bible. The Bible has had hundreds of years of organizations that have intentionally tried to translate and spread it to every person on the whole planet. But the Tao Te Ching had no such organization. People just reading the text and finding it interesting and valuable and wanting to translate it over and over again. The book right here, it says A New English Version by Ursula K. Le Guin. Many of her very famous science fiction or fantasy novels have Daoist elements. She read this text in English, right, not in Chinese, for a very long time. And so this version, I would say, represents her understanding or her reimagining, like in chapter 28, knowing man and staying woman. In the original, it's not necessarily about being both man and woman, but it could be about certain qualities of aggression and passivity or these kinds of more abstract things, but she makes it very much a gender concept. And her translation is popular, that then it gets retranslated. So we have a Spanish version, we have a Dutch version. It's not just going out of China in a single simple direction, but you have these networks and branches of different imaginings of the philosophy.
Now, what about you? How did you first get excited and interested in Laozi and the Tao Te Ching?
So we also have that translation. So this is the translation published in 1972 originally by Feng Jiafu and his American wife Jane English. It's probably the most popular English translation out of all the 600 translations. it influenced the counterculture generation.
Set me free, come on little girl.
In the 60s and the 70s, you have this movement of people who want to move away from Western modernization, want to go back to the land, and they look to East Asian culture. And so one of those resources was the Tao Te Ching.
All you gotta do is
And it just kind of entered popular knowledge. Even people like George Harrison in the Beatles, he selected a chapter from the Tao Te Ching in English to be the lyrics to a song called Inner Light. My parents both read that particular translation when they were young teenagers. That was the first Tao Te Ching I encountered when I was 14. I was fascinated from the beginning. I don't know why.
好感深受老师的概念是要终生学习的，它是一个开阔的视角。
Why have I spent my whole life studying this one book? All the words are very simple, but the meaning is not simple.
老子是我生命当中最为契合的一本古代著作。
In those few thousand words, all you have is abstract ideas on how to face very continually reoccurring human challenges.
The history of this vision and why.
And these abstract ideas very easily can cross cultural boundaries. And people all around the world can feel that it somehow is the text is speaking to them. It doesn't matter if it's a myth or 100% historical fact. There's a culture that grows up around the text that's 100% real. You have the lineages of the passing of the wisdom, and the wisdom is accumulated through generations. It's not just information, it's how to live, how to be a person, how to understand your place in the world. And that's the level I think wisdom operates on.
人类生活是需要确定性，我们怎么才能在充满了不确定性的世界里找到那个确定性的根源呢？ 只能来自于哲学这样的整体性的对世界人生的思考。
你对老子感兴趣吗？为什么呢？
因为这是他第一章，就我们表演过。道可道，非常道；名可名，非常名。不明天地之始，有名万物之母。
故常无欲，以观其妙。 常有欲以观其教，
凡者道之动，弱者道之用。
Alle Dinge unter dem Himmel entstehen im Sein. Das Sein entsteht im Nichtsein.
Contria prosus, humana prudentia. Sopliantur igeni, ad abundantes superfluent.
The Tao gave birth to the One. The One gave birth to the Two gave birth to the Three, and the Three gave birth to the myriad things.
在我开展这个项目之前，我完全不了解《道德经》对于这个世界的不同层面，居然有如此深远的影响。不论是在过去还是在当今，人们对于智慧，而非简单的聪慧之语，都有着强烈的渴望。 《道德经》中有一句名言：“千里之行，始于足下。”这只是这场思想之旅的开始，对中国智慧的探索还将继续下去。